أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا مظلوم يا غريب يا شهيد كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأن المساجد لله فلا تدعوا مع الله أحدا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. A second for the love of Imam Al-Hassan wal-Hussein. A third for the love of Fatima al-Zahra with your loudest voices. For the brothers and sisters, for our relatives, our family members, our friends that live back home in the Middle East. Some of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them to live in shrine cities, to visit the Ahlul Bayt. They have the graves of the Ahlul Bayt to visit, their mausoleums, their shrines. This is where they receive their spiritual nourishment from. Those people are truly blessed. But what about the Muslims that live in the West? And when I say the West, this includes Australia and includes New Zealand as well. Muslims living in these countries, they don't have the graves of the Ahlul Bayt to visit. You don't have sanctuaries and shrines of imams and prophets and the children of imams to visit and receive your spiritual nourishment from. So where do you go? You go to your mosque, to your local mosque or local Husseiniya. That is where you go to connect with Allah Azza wa Jal. That is where you go to receive your spiritual nourishment. That is your only option. You don't have the option of going to Karbala and going to Mashhad and Najaf and Samarra and Qazwini every week or every month. Your option is to come to your local mosque. That is where you connect with Allah. That is where you pray and you supplicate and you recite Quran, where you seek nearness to Allah at your local mosque. Our local mosques are also places where we receive our knowledge and Islamic education. This is where we learn about the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the lives of the Ahlul Bayt. This is the places where we learn about the tragedies of the Ahlul Bayt and what history did to these noble people. It is at our local mosques. This is where we learn Islamic laws and legal laws, what is haram and what is wajib and what is permissible. This is all what we learn at our mosques. Our mosques are our social centers where we meet. It's our home away from home. Since many of us have left our home countries and we've left our families, our extended families, we have another family that we've built at our local mosque. The people that come to the mosque from our community members, they too are considered our family members. Maybe not blood relatives, but they become our family members after a while. This is where we meet and socialize and we talk and we address our issues and our problems. This is where our children meet. This is where our youth will meet. Perhaps there are youth that will decide to marry prospective spouses from those that they meet at the local Islamic center. Our centers facilitate marriage. Our mosques also enhance the image of Islam in the eyes of the West by providing humanitarian aid. In the recent hurricane that occurred in the United States of America, in the city of Texas, where millions of people were left without homes, without electricity, without warm water. You know who opened their doors? Not just Muslims, not just for Muslims, for non-Muslims. It was the mosques and Islamic centers and Hosseinias and masajid. They opened their doors and they welcomed whoever wanted shelter and a place to stay. While I was reading in newspapers that there were mega churches. What I mean by mega churches is huge, stadium-sized churches that closed their doors. Did not allow anyone to enter and use their churches as shelters. But alhamdulillah, our mosques in Texas, in Houston, and other places, they opened the doors and they welcomed everyone, regardless of religion, regardless of race, regardless of nationality. This enhanced the image of Islam. This gave a good image of Islam, that Muslims are humanitarian people that provide humanitarian aid. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And during the month of Ramadan, in the city of London, in the UK, a major tower was set on fire, if you remember. The Grenfell Tower. They don't exactly know what the causes were, but an entire building was set on fire. Some of them were Muslim, a lot of them were not Muslim. They needed a place to go. They needed shelter, they needed food. There were some Islamic centers and mosques in London that provided shelter, that provided food for non-Muslims. Because that is what Islam teaches us, to provide humanitarian aid to people that follow your religion and to people that don't follow your religion. Even if they don't recognize your religion, we do our job, regardless of what their beliefs are. So our mosques, they did this. They have that role. They have the humanitarian role that improved the image of Islam. Now, does this mean that our mosques are perfect and that there is no room for improvement? Absolutely not. There is always room for improvement. Whether on a personal level, there's always room for you and me to grow on a personal level, to grow spiritually, educationally, physically, emotionally. There's always room for personal growth. There's always room for improvement for families, for relationships, for marriages. And there's room for improvement for Islamic centers and mosques. There's always room for improvement. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, we'd like to talk about the role of our mosques in the West and how we can improve them and reform them in the three following points. Number one, what does the Quran say about mosques? Before we talk about the mosque's responsibility to the community, what is the community's responsibility towards the mosque? What is it asked of us towards the mosque? This is one. Based on the Quran. Based on what the Quran says. This is one. Number two, what are the common mistakes that most of our mosques perform and repeat? Now, this is not regarding a specific mosque or a specific Islamic center. No, these are common mistakes that are committed by most or by some of our mosques in the West. What are those mistakes? Number three, how can we improve our mosques? And what is it that we can introduce to reform these mosques? But first, a loud salawat. When we look at the Quran, we see the Quran talks about mosques and how mosques should be treated, how masajid and mosques should be treated, and what is our duty and responsibility when we come to the mosque. In one verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, وَأَقِيمُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ وَادْعُوهُ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. When you go to the mosque, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and speak to Him and supplicate. Meaning that this should be your number one priority for coming to the mosque, to connect to Allah, not to socialize, even though socializing is one of the positive factors of attending at a mosque. But that should not be your intention. It should not be your intention to meet with friends or to come because so-and-so has cooked food tonight and she's providing the dinner, or so-and-so, I haven't seen them in a while, and tonight I'm going to come to the mosque and see them. These are benefits, but that should not be your number one goal of coming to the mosque. وَأَقِيمُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ عَنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. You should come with the intention of coming for Allah, for the sake of Allah, seeking nearness and closeness to Allah. These majalis, the majalis of Imam Hossein that we are commemorating these nights, they're for the sake of Allah. We are here because Imam Hussein died for the sake of Allah. Thus, our gatherings here, they are for the sake of Allah. So this is the number one priority. We come to the mosque for Allah. From the beginning to end, you try to improve your relationship with Allah. You speak to Him. You ask Him. This is a place for dua. فَادْعُوهُ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Ask Him. A mosque is a place for dua. You don't necessarily have to go to Karbala or Mecca or Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara or Mashhad. Yes, those are sacred places for dua. But your local mosque is also a place for dua as well. The Quran says, فَادْعُوهُ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. The Quran also tells us to take our ornaments and beauty to the Quran. يَا بَنِي آدَمَ خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. O the children of Adam, take your ornaments, your ornamentation, your beautification to every mosque. What does this mean? Some scholars say that when you go to the mosque, put on your best clothing. Wear your nicest clothing. Have you seen Catholics and Christians when they go to church? What do they wear when they go to church? Suits. They wear suits. There's no wedding. There's no special occasion. It's a Sunday morning service. Yet at that service, they wear suits out of respect for the place and out of respect for God. The Quran tells us the same thing, but we don't do it. We don't practice it. Now, I don't expect you all tomorrow to come wearing suits, but we come wearing our nicest clothing خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Other scholars say to put on perfume. Zina here means putting perfume and cologne. It is recommended. When you come to the mosque, smell good, look good, be on your best attire. Just like when you go to an invitation, a dinner invitation, don't we wear our best clothing? And we worry about what to wear. And there's ladies that go on a shopping spree for 3 days for one invitation. We want to look good. The same has to be attributed to the mosque as well, the house of Allah. If you want to look good when you go to the house of Fulan and Fulan, what about the house of God? When you come to His house, also look good. The Quran also tells us that mosques are a place of unity. There's no room for division in mosques. Those who want division, let them leave. They shouldn't be here. Don't come to the mosque looking for division. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مَسْجِدًا ضِرَارًا وَكُفْرًا وَتَفْرِيقًا بَيْنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَإِرْصَادًا لِمَنْ حَارَبَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. During the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, the first mosque that was built was the mosque of Quba, Masjid Quba. If you've been to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, most likely you've visited that mosque. There were a group of hypocrites. They went and they built their own mosque. Why? To divide Muslims, for Muslims to spread. Half would come to this mosque, another half would go to that mosque. Their intention of building a mosque was not a pure intention. It was not a clean intention. The intention was to divide Muslims. Allah exposed them. Instead, Allah says, go to a mosque that is built on righteousness, on purity, where believers, they gather, they're united. لا تقم فيه أبدا لمسجد أسس على التقوى من أول يوم أحق أن تقوم فيه رجال يحبون أن يتطهروا والله يحب المطهرين. A mosque that is built on righteousness and purity, that mosque you should go to. That mosque you should pray at, not a mosque that wants to divide. Thus, mosques are not a place of division, my dear brothers and sisters. A mosque is a place of unity. If you see people that come to the mosque with an agenda to divide the community, those people have to be stopped. They have to be called out. You tell them, no, don't divide this community. Don't divide our mosques. We are one big family, a happy family. Let us stay that way. The Quran also tells us that mosques are a place to call unto Allah and no one else. There should be no political agenda at our mosques. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. Mosques are for Allah only. You invite people to Allah, no one else. There should be no ulterior motives behind mosques and Islamic centers and Husseinias, calling for this political party or that political party or for this nation, or even scholars and jurists. And we have respect for all of them, and we regard all of them. But our mosques are for Allah, not for jurists, not for maraja, not to advertise for this marja or that marja, or for this jurist or that jurist. Our mosques are completely for Allah. If you see someone making advertisements for a specific group or political party or a specific direction, tell them this is not a place for the mosque. Because the Quran says, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. Don't call anyone, don't invite to anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jal. This is another point. The Quran also tells us that who should be leading the mosques. You know, we have this problem in a lot of communities. Who should be on the board? Who should be the president of the mosque, of the community? And who should be on the board? Who should be among the trustees? The Quran tells us who. The Quran tells us, gives us qualities of those who should lead our mosques and community members. I will leave it up to you to see, do our trustees have these qualities or not? Allah says, إِنَّمَا يَعْمُرُ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ وَآتَى الزَّكَاةِ وَلَمْ يَخْشَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Those who lead our Mosques should have the following qualities. They believe in Allah, and they believe in the hereafter. They believe in death and the next life. They're not all about dunya. And they establish salat. The Quran doesn't say they pray. Most people pray. No. They establish prayers. There's a difference between praying and establishing prayers. وَآتَ الزَّكَاةِ, and they give the religious duties, and they do not fear other than Allah Azza wa Jalla. These people should lead our mosques and Islamic centers. If our board members do not have these qualities, we need to have elections. You know, our mosque should not be for personal glory. I'm on the board of this mosque. I'm the founder of this mosque. A mosque is for Allah. Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for Allah? You know, there was a man by the name of Bahlul. Bahlul is no historical figure. He pretended to be insane, but he had wise words. One day, he saw a man build a mosque. He built a mosque. He told him, okay, you built a mosque. Beautiful. Who did you build this mosque for? He said, for Allah. He said, are you sure? You built this mosque. All of it. These rooms, this dome, these minarets. This is for Allah. He said, of course it's for Allah. Who else would I build this mosque for? I said, okay. So do you mind if I put a sign at the door of the mosque that says this is Masjid Bahlul? This is Bahlul's mosque? I said, are you insane? I spent the money. I gathered the money. And you want me to put a sign with your name on it? He said, but you said it's for Allah. If it's for Allah, you shouldn't care whose name is on the mosque, whether it's Bahlul or your name or someone else's name. So apparently it wasn't for Allah, because if it was for Allah, you wouldn't care whose name is on the mosque. The mosques are for Allah, and there's no room for personal glory. The Quran also tells us that we should not be among those who destroy mosques. You might say, that's strange. Who destroys mosques? Immediately, you might get an image of a person with a bulldozer coming close to a mosque and destroying it. No, that's one form of destroying a mosque. There are other forms of destroying a mosque. There's people that cause division. They call their friends and they say, don't go to this majlis or this mosque. This is destruction of a mosque. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ أَنْ يُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ وَسَعَى فِي خَرَابِهَا. Who is more of an oppressor than those who make an effort to destroy mosques and forbids the name of Allah being mentioned in those mosques? Hopefully we don't have these qualities. We are not characterized with this quality. وَصَلُّوا عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. Now I come to my second point. Common mistakes that occur at many of our mosques. Now, let me emphasize that I am not targeting a specific mosque or a specific Islamic center. This is a common problem that I've seen from my experience, from traveling across the globe, from speaking at tens of Islamic centers. I see common mistakes repeated. And the month of Muharram is the month of what? Reform. Imam Hossein alayhi salam, his main obligation was what? Reform. إنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. His main obligation was to reform the Islamic ummah, to reform the nation of his prophet. So tonight, when we talk about these problems, we don't want anyone to feel offended, because we're not being, critical. We're being constructively critical. We're not making it personal. So what are these common problems that occur at many of our mosques? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Many of our mosques are ethnic based. They're ethnic based. Meaning they attract a specific audience, a specific nationality. And other nationalities, they don't feel at home. You have a mosque that caters only to this nationality or that nationality, to Iraqis or Iranians or Afghans or Khojas or Pakistanis or Indians. You know, this is nice to have a mosque where people of your own nationality come and you hear your language. But the problem is, other Muslims, other followers of Ahlul Bayt, they will not feel welcome. They will not feel welcome. If they don't understand Arabic, they're not going to come. If they don't understand Farsi, they're not going to come. If they don't understand Urdu or Gujarati or other languages, they won't come. So ethnic-based centers, they only attract followers of their own nationalities and that language. The rest do not feel welcome. Thus, you will not see diversity in that community. You won't see unity in that community. If we want our mosques and our centers to be unified and to be diverse, we must be welcoming of all nationalities. And allow me to testify to this beautiful community here, where I see various faces and various nationalities and various languages that come and attend, and they're all unified under one language, the English language. If we want our communities to attract various nationalities, we have to make our communities based on the English language and our programs based on the English language. This will unify. But if we go with various languages, we'll be restricted to different ethnicities. If that's what you want, go ahead. But if we want to be united and to draw larger crowds and to draw our youth, and I will talk about that in a couple of minutes, we have to base our programs in English. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So this is one problem. Another problem that exists at many of our Islamic centers, and that's the problem of punctuality. The issue of being on time. This is a major problem at a lot of mosques. They say they start at 7, they ended up starting at 8. A lecture is supposed to be 10 minutes, turns out to be 20 minutes. A dua is supposed to be 15 minutes, it takes 30 minutes. It's not on time. And this is a problem. Punctuality is very important, my dear friends. We live in a society where everything is on time. You go to work on time, you go to bed on time, your lunch break is on time, everything is on time. Why is it that our mosques and our Islamic centers are not on time? Of course, this, again, I'm not targeting a specific Islamic center. I'm speaking generally. Generally. We do not have respect for time. And that's very unfortunate. So what we do is, a program that's supposed to start, for example, at 7, we start at 8. Why? Because people come late. People come late. So what happens is we punish those that come early, because there's always people that come early. There's some people that respect time and they come early. We punish them and we reward those that come late. While it should be the complete opposite. Reward those that come early and punish those that came late. Start on time. Time is very important, my dear friends. Especially those that have family members, that have children, they have to go to sleep at a specific time. We cannot carry out majalis until 11 and at midnight. This can occur. Punctuality is something very important. Number 3, choice of speakers. This is important. Some mosques don't have a great choice of speakers. They bring speakers that are irrelevant. They address topics that are not relevant to the lives of the people that come to the mosque. They're irrelevant to the lives of the youth. Or they address issues that don't benefit anyone. They don't benefit their life. They don't gain knowledge. They don't learn anything about Islamic law or history, and so on and so forth. The choice of speakers is very important, my dear friends. Sometimes a speaker is invited because of the person who invites. He has a special connection with him. There's a special relationship. Not because that speaker is wanted and he benefits the community. No, based on personal relationships. Or because he has specific political, he has political, he's affiliations. He's affiliated with a specific political party or a certain marja'iyya or so on and so forth. I invite him because of that. Not because he's benefiting the community. This is wrong. This is a common mistake that occurs at many of our mosques. Number 5, long programs. In addition to the problem of punctuality and not sticking to time and not starting on time, at many of our mosques, the programs are too long. They're too long. 3 hours, 4 hours, that's too long. You know, the average attention span of a person is 30 to 40 minutes. Of course, I should be telling myself this because I speak for an hour. But because Muharram is an exception, generally, our programs are too long. Too many programs, too many du'as to be recited, too many ziyaras, too many announcements, too many speakers. This should come to a limit. The amount of du'a. I'm not against du'as. But when you have children to go to sleep, when you have the option of bringing people for 2 hours to the mosque, or them not coming at all, no, I prefer them to come for 2 hours instead of not coming whatsoever, because a 3 or 4 hour program is just too long and people can't handle it. Number 6, this is a common problem at many of our Islamic centers. They're empty of youth. A lot of communities are complaining. Where are the youth in the community? They're not showing up. They're not attending. Well, we have to ask ourselves the question, are we catering to the youth? What are the programs that we're providing? Are they attractive to the youth or no? If the program is in a specific language, like Arabic or Farsi or Urdu, and the youth today, they don't speak these languages. Obviously, they're not going to come. If the speaker does not relate to the youth, they're not going to come. If we want the youth only to work, not for leadership. I hear this a lot from youth, that we are brought to the mosque to work. Pick up the chairs, put the rugs, fix the mic, clean, vacuum, and that's it. We are not given leadership positions and roles. We are only used for labor. Obviously, they're not going to come. If they're being used to work, they're not going to come. Let's give our youth leadership roles and leadership positions. This is important. And number 7, and this is sensitive, the issue of segregation, my dear friends. In some mosques, men and women are completely segregated. And this creates a problem in some communities. When young men and women don't see each other whatsoever at the mosque, yet they freely see each other at school and at universities. They don't mingle and socialize with the Muslim youth, but they socialize with non-Muslim youth. Don't be surprised if your young son or young daughter decides to marry a non-Muslim, because they haven't met Muslim youth at their mosque. You know, there's a phenomenon that at some communities they call the wall of China, that separates the men from the women. You know, when we read history and we read about the mosque of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at the time of Rasulullah, there was no segregation. There was no wall, a barrier between men and women. Rasulullah would make the men stand in front and the women in the back. There were no curtains, there were no walls, there were no barriers, and they mixed. And that is how they got married. And that is how they met one another. But when we create barriers between our youth and our genders, we will run into problems. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. These are some of the problems. Of course, we can list others. We can list many other problems and common mistakes that are committed at our mosques. Now, What should our mosques concentrate on? What should we add to our mosques? You know, a lot of people say that our mosques are very traditional. We come for Salat al-Jum'ah, we attend during Muharram and Ramadan, and that's it. Our mosques are only for lectures and prayers, and that's it. 6 days out of the week, they're closed. They only open on Fridays or Thursday nights. And we don't have any other programs. What should our mosques concentrate on? What should we add? How should we reform? What changes should we make? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I believe that our mosques in the West, all of them have to have an interfaith program. What do I mean by the interfaith program? We meet with churches and synagogues and followers of other religions. We meet with them. We have meetings with them. We welcome them into our mosques. We go to the local churches. I'm sure there's churches here. And there's synagogues. And there's temples and followers of the world religions. Let's meet with them. Let's go to them, attend their events, so that they will come and attend our events. We open our doors for them. Let us meet with people of other religions. This way they will understand Islam better. We're living at a time in which Islam is being hijacked. The image of Islam is being destroyed. What other way do we have that is better than dialogue? Opening dialogue with followers of other religions. Having interfaith programs, conferences, seminars. Let's work with other churches and synagogues. That way we'll develop a better understanding with one another. I also believe that our Islamic centers should all have mini houses. Mini housa programs. If there's a religious scholar in the community, and at most communities there are religious scholars, there should be a miniature housa program. Early in the morning, late in the evening, on the weekends, where the scholars of the community, they come to the Islamic Center and they provide housa lessons on Islamic law, jurisprudence, legal theory, logic, the Arabic language, tafsir of the Holy Quran. This is important because these lectures are good, but they're not enough. Our youth are thirsty for more. They want to know more. These lectures are great for the month of Muharram and Ramadan, but in these lectures, do we discuss everything about Islamic knowledge? Everything about Islamic law and legal theory and jurisprudence and philosophy? No. These lectures are not enough. The youth that want more Islamic knowledge, you have to have for them a miniature housa program at all of our Islamic centers. Number 3, converts. We have to take care of our converts. There has to be a committee to take care of converts. Look after them. Call them. Invite them. See what is it that they need. I remember 2.5 years ago, if the brothers and sisters remember, when I came in the month of during the month of Ramadan of 2015, I talked about our duties towards converts. If you don't remember, I remember. I talked about that topic. Our duty towards converts. There should be a community at our mosque to look at after converts. What are their needs? You know, a lot of converts, they say that mosques, they need us only to show us off. Yes, come and tell us your story. How did you become Muslim? But at times of need, they forget us. At times when we want to get married, they forget us. At times when we need companionship, they forget us. We have to look after converts, my dear friends. There has to be a committee. Number 4, we need to invite non-Muslims, other than the interfaith program. We all have non-Muslim friends. At school, at work, at the university. Your neighbors, invite them. Let them come to the mosque. And what better event is there other than Muharram? Muharram is the best event to get your non-Muslim friends to attend for at least one lecture. Let them come and see what we do. Let them see that we are not barbaric, we're not violent, we're peaceful people. We enjoy to live, we want to live, we enjoy companionship. We're not terrorists, we're not violent. Let us invite them to come and attend. Number 5, there has to be unity among the centers. This is important. There's not enough unity among the centers. You see 2 programs starting at the same time. This center, this majlis starts, for example, at 8 p.m., while another mosque, their lecture starts at 8 p.m., and they're within a 15-minute vicinity. This is wrong. This means there's no cooperation. This means that these 2 mosques are against each other, and they're competing with one another. This is wrong. One of them starts at 7, and the other starts at 8, and they work together. If they can combine some programs, like the day of Eid, like the day of Ashura, certain events, they combine and they work together, that is excellent. There needs to be unity and cooperation between our Islamic centers. Number 6, the youth. We have to cater to the youth, my dear friends. We have to cater to the youth. If there's a mosque empty of youth, there's a problem with that mosque. There's a problem with that mosque. Why aren't the youth attending? That means that mosque has to change. Their programs has to change. Do we have youth sessions at our mosques? Do we have annual camps for the youth? You know, I've attended lots of youth camps all across, in the United States and Europe. Youth camps are very important. They change the lives of youth drastically. I've seen youth that go from non-religious to religious in 4 days or 3 days. I've seen young ladies, they go from not wearing hijab to wearing hijab in 3 days. They didn't pray, now they're praying only in 3 days. These camps are important. Do we facilitate marriage between our youth? This is important. This is important. Do we have a committee at our mosques that looks after the bachelors and bachelorettes in the community? This is important. This is something that we need to consider and look after. Because if we don't facilitate marriage for them at our mosque, they will find their own way. A way that might not please us. A way that might not please their parents. Number 7, obeying the law. This is very important. We see at some of our Islamic centers, they break the law. We need to obey the law, my dear friends. For example, if there's a maximum occupancy. I've seen some mosques, the maximum occupancy is 80. There's 800 people at that mosque. This is wrong. There's a reason why there's a maximum occupancy. There's fire hazards, there needs to be exits. In case of emergencies, earthquake, fire, that's why there needs to be a certain amount. If you have 800 people, go buy a mosque that's enough for 800. A mosque that holds 80 people, you can't fit 800 people. We have to obey the law. Parking is an issue. Parking, especially during the month of Muharram, especially during the days of Ashura. There's people that come and attend majalis, and they have absolutely no respect for parking laws. They park in front of the driver's, the neighbor's driveway. They park in areas where they're not allowed to park. This is wrong. Obey the law. Park in places where you're designated to park. Let's obey the law. Let's give a good image of Islam. Let's give a good image of the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Let's give a good image of the gatherings of Muharram. Don't break laws. Also, neighbors. I know some mosques, they really harass the neighbors with loud sounds. Their programs, they carry on till 11 p.m., 12 midnight, so on and so forth. And they harass the neighbors. The neighbors are trying to sleep. We don't allow them to sleep with the sound. These are issues that we need to take care of, my dear friends. Let's obey the law. We have to obey the law. Cleanliness is another issue. Our mosques need to be clean. They need to look good for those that attend and for visitors. Imagine today if 50 people, non-Muslims decide to come to our mosque, and they come and they see food on the ground and it hasn't been vacuumed, our bathrooms are not clean. For example, these are issues that we need to take care of, my dear friends. Cleanliness is very important. When we go to our homes are clean all the time. But our mosques are not always clean. While our mosques should be cleaner than our homes, because this is the house of God. This is the house of God. These are issues that we need to look after. Also, we need democracy in our mosques, my dear friends. Everything at our mosques needs to be democratic. There needs to be elections. The speaker that we bring, the decisions that we make, who we invite, who we don't invite, how the mosque should be run, the programs that we have, the Saturday school, the Sunday, this all has to be democratic. Enough of dictatorships. We live in democratic societies, but many of our mosques are dictatorships. And this is wrong. Our mosque should also be run in a democratic fashion. Majority rule. We see what the majority say. And finally, we should not forget to continuously support our mosques. This is also important. There are some people that come to the mosque, they only want to receive, they want to come to hear a good lecture and to listen to a nice ziyarah and a nice dua and to eat delicious food and for their children to be taken care of and to learn, but they're not willing to spend. It doesn't work that way, my dear friends. You want quality programs at your mosque? There has to be quality donations. There's a Farsi proverb. I remember in Iran there's a Farsi proverb that says, basically it says, however much you pay, you will eat ash. Right? Har chi ke pul midi, ash mikhori. I don't know if Afghans have this proverb, but in Iran they have this proverb. However much you pay, you'll eat food. You'll eat the Iranian food, ash. However much money you will put at your center and mosque, I will give back to you. You support your mosque, I will give you quality programs. You don't support your mosque, there won't be any quality programs. And finally, our mosques are places in which we renew our allegiance to Imam Hossein alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. At our mosques, we gather every year to console Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and to console Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. We gather to remember Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We gather to remember the man that gave everything for the sake of Allah, for nothing in return. Not for personal glory, not for personal power, not for personal fame. He died for the sake of reform, putting things back on track, putting things where they belong. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had put Islam on a certain track, and this track was meant to go straight, but others, they came and they diverged this train, and they let the train go in another direction, and a direction in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not want, Allah did not want. Imam Hussein wanted to come and bring back the train to the rightful direction, to put it on its track. He saw that Islam was being manipulated and hijacked. The Islam of Bani Umayyah was not the Islam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just like today, the Islam that we see today, the Islam in the media, the Islam that is supported by certain countries that are oil rich, The Islam that is being supported by the Wahhabi school of thought, this is not the Islam of Rasulullah. This Islam is hijacked. Imam Hussein faced a similar problem, but much worse. Imam Hussein's problem was much worse. And Imam Hussein saw that the only solution to get Islam back on its track was blood. Blood was needed. His own noble blood. His own sacred blood. His own blood had to be sacrificed for Muslims to wake up and to realize that this is not the Islam that Rasulullah wanted. This is a hijacked Islam. Thus, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, at the beginning of his revolution, he first comes to whom? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You heard from a dear sister before I began my speech that Imam Hussein came to say farewell to his grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because it was his religion. Imam Hussein was protecting the religion of his grandfather. He came to bid his grandfather farewell. He slept next to the grave of Rasulullah and he fell asleep. He saw Rasulullah in his dream, surrounded by angels. Angels on his right, angels on his left, angels in front of him, angels behind him. When Imam Hussein saw his grandfather in his dream, he said, "My dear grandfather, take me to you. I don't wish to stay in this life. لا حاجة لي في الرجوع إلى الدنيا." Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he hugged Imam Hussein. He told him, "My child, Aba Abdullah, you will soon gather with us in paradise. No need to rush, Ya Aba Abdullah. Your mother Fatima, your father Ali ibn Abi Talib, your brother Al-Hassan, we are all waiting for you. But before we gather, you must pass a test. You must gain the status of Shahada, of martyrdom." Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he embraced his grandfather Rasulullah and he began to cry. And then Imam Hussein went to another grave, a very lonely grave, a grave that no one knows where it's located, the grave of his mother Fatima, and he bade farewell. This is Medina, the city where he grew up, the city where he was raised. Now he had to say farewell. On a day like tomorrow, the 2nd of Muharram, Imam Hussein alayhi salam arrived to the city of Karbala. Historians say that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he was in the middle of his journey in the desert. All of a sudden his horse stopped. The horse would not move. Imam Hussein asked for another horse. They brought him another horse, and that horse would not move again. A third horse, a fourth horse. Imam Hussein realized that this is a special land. He said, "What is the name of this land?" Someone said, "Yabna Rasulullah, the name of this city is Al-Ghadariya." He said, "But does it have another name?" Someone said, "Yabna Rasulullah, the name of this city is Nainawa." He said, "No, it has another name." Someone said, "At-Taf." He said, "It has another name." They kept on mentioning several names until someone said, "Sayyidi ya Aba Abdullah, innaha tusamma Karbala." My master Aba Abdullah, the name of this city is Karbala. فتنفس الصعداء وقال اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الكرب والبلاء. Imam Hussein sighed. He said, indeed, this is the land of trial and tribulation. Indeed, this is the land of tragedies. My companions, come down. This is where we will settle. أصحابي انزلوا انزلوا فذا محط رحالنا. My companions, come down. فذا محط رحالنا وهنا تكون مصرع شبابنا. And in this land we will be martyred, and our women will be taken captives. Come down, come down. They all came down, putting their tents. Imam Hussein had a tent, Abu al-Fadl Abbas had a tent, Ali al-Akbar, Sayyidah Zainab was in the middle of all of these tents, surrounded by her brothers and children and nephews. Yet Sayyidah Zainab still felt safe. Arriving to Karbala on the 2nd of Muharram, she still felt safe. But on the eve of the 11th of Muharram, these tents were all on the ground. Those who had gathered around her were now on the battlefield. Her brothers, her nephews, her sons were laying on the battlefield, drenched in their blood. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. Raise your hands in dua. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا خوفا إلا آمنته، ولا رزقا إلا بسطته، ولا شملا إلا جمعته، ولا مرضا إلا شفيته، ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته، ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.